Nannie Lee Fenner remembers receiving the note.
Mr. Oswald got off the elevator, and from my desk I could see him clearly because my desk was right in the hallway. And he came to my desk. He said, "Is S.A. Hosty, please?" And he had a wild look in his eye, and he was awfully fidgety. And he had a 3x5 envelope in his hand. It was not sealed. And in it was a piece of paper, and it was folded where the bottom portion of the letter was visible. And the whole time that he was standing there waiting for me to see if S.A. Hosty was in, he kept pulling this letter in and out of this envelope. And when I informed him that S.A. Hosty was not in the office, he threw it like that on my desk, and he said, "Well, give this to him," and turned and walked back toward the elevator. Well, as the bottom portion of that letter was visible, I could not help but read the last two lines. And the last two lines stated, "I'll either blow up the Dallas Police Department and the FBI office." I considered it a threat. So I then took the letter in my hand to see what was above that. And I don't remember the exact words, but it was something about speaking to his wife, that was what he was going to do if they didn't stop.
To the best of my recollection, it said, "If you want to talk to me, come talk to me. Don't bother my wife. I want to know when you interview my wife. Don't interview her without my permission." And then it said, "If you don't cease talking to her, I will be forced to take action against the FBI."
Did he indicate what kind of action it would be?
Well, sir, I know that he was a member of the American Civil Liberties Union, and I just assumed he meant legal action. We'd had
He didn't say anything about he'd blow up the office?
No, sir, I would have remembered that. Sunday, November 24th, it was at least 2 hours after the announced death of Lee Oswald. It could have been 3 or 4 hours afterwards. It was sometime that afternoon of November 24th. Mr. Howe told me that Mr. Shanklin wanted to see me and Mr. Howe in his office.
What transpired it then?
Mr. Shanklin reached down into the lower right-hand drawer of his desk. It's a large double drawer in which he has numerous manila folders where they keep various notes. There's a folder for each agent, and they keep various notations and routing slips, error forms, and things like that in these folders. He reached down and took out the memorandum and the note in question, and he handed it to me, and he said, in effect, "Oswald's dead now. There can be no trial. Here, get rid of this." I then proceeded to tear it up. In his presence, he said, "No, get it out of here. I don't even want it in this office. Get rid of it." I then took it out and destroyed it.
And how did you destroy it?
I took it into the washroom and flushed it down the drain.
Did you testify before the Warren Commission?
I did.
Did you volunteer or give any information about the note or its destruction?
I did not.
Why not?
I wasn't asked.
Did you give any information or volunteer any information with respect to your instructions regarding Commission Exhibit 103?
No, sir.
Why not?
I wasn't asked.
And did you think about volunteering the information?
No, sir.
Why not?
I was instructed when I went up there that I was to only answer the questions that were set to me, and I was not to expand on anything and not to elaborate, to only answer the questions that were put to me.
And who gave you those instructions?
Given to me by at least 2 officials in Dallas and at least 1 in FBI headquarters. They were given to me by Mr. Shanklin, Mr. Gimberling, who was a supervisor who succeeded Mr. Howe, and also by former Assistant Director Alan Belmont.
Now let's hear from Gordon Shanklin.
I have no recollection of hearing of Oswald's visit to the Dallas office or of the note. I have no recollection of ever seeing the note. In short, I do not remember discussing the note or Oswald's visit with anyone at any time prior to last July. Now, a bomb threat to a law enforcement office is the equivalent of what I'd say of a red flag in front of a bull. I would never be indifferent to such threats against the lives of my associates or myself. After many hours of reflection and searching my memory, I've concluded that had the note contained threats of violence, and had I known of it at the time, I would remember it. Finally, understand that in one version of the story, I'm supposed to have ordered the destruction of the note. I can state here and now that I never gave any such order. I would never have and certainly did not order the destruction of the note.
The committee tries to resolve this central question. Counsel to James Hosty.
You're aware of the fact that Mr. Shanklin denies any knowledge of the note prior to July of this year?
Yes, sir, I've seen that.
And he has so stated under oath to this committee as recently as yesterday.
Yes, sir.
And you are under oath.
Yes, sir, I understand that.
So, do you wish to change your testimony in any way or upon reflection?
No, sir, absolutely not.
There remains a direct contradiction, and no one, not even Secretary Fenner, can clear it up. And Shanklin stands firm.
Prior to November 22nd, 1963, did you have any contact with or knowledge of Lee Harvey Oswald?
I never heard of him before.
Prior to November 22nd, 1963, were you aware, personally aware, that the FBI had a file on Lee Harvey Oswald and that one of your agents was handling an investigation?
No, sir, I did not.
In all candor, sir, at lunchtime I looked up the perjury statutes and what our witnesses required to say and oath. Why are you so equivocal?
Well, I don't think I am. I mean, I'm trying to tell you the truth, and I don't think it... I tried to point out in this thing, now, if the note said anything about it had a threat, I don't think I would have ever forgotten it. You see what I'm talking about? But now, if Mr. Hosty come running in there with innumerable other things, or if Mr. Howell came in, and they said, we've got a note here from Oswald that says, don't go bothering my wife, but talk to me or I'll go through proper channels. I don't know that I would remember that. I would have said handle it, which in my opinion would have been to include it in a report, and that would have been it.
Well, we have to believe you, sir, or we have to believe four others who contradict you. And we can't have it both ways. The Department of Justice is not going to resolve it. They're not going to prosecute at all. So it's left up to Congress. We represent the American people here. We're not going to sit back and allow totally, absolutely contradictory statements to go unchallenged. It's our duty not to do that.
And how did the Edwards Committee pursue the issue? Author George O'Toole.
Unfortunately, the Edwards Committee is not pursuing this matter, even though it clearly has a case of someone having perjured himself before the subcommittee in his sworn testimony. And that, again, is another disappointment that we've suffered recently.
The Edwards Committee raised more questions than it answered.
There's no point in us doing anything more. We don't have subpoena power, and we keep coming up against that. We know individuals who we feel were involved in one way or another. We have other people that we would like to talk to who won't talk to us. There's nothing that says that any individual in this case has to talk to us because we do not have the power of subpoena. We don't have the power to grant immunity from prosecution in exchange for the facts. So it really has to be carried out by Congress, if at all, and it looks like that's not going to happen.